Welcome back to The Life with the Browns. The courtroom was suffocating, not from the heat, but from the weight of secrets. Every breath inside those marble walls carried the taste of dread. Reporters leaned forward, their pens ready like daggers. Jurors exchanged wide-eyed glances. And at the center of it all sat Robyn Brown, her trembling hands clutching a folder that could either save her or bury her alive. Across the aisle, Kody leaned back in his chair, shackled wrist tapping out a sinister rhythm against the wooden table. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't broken. He was smiling like a predator waiting for his prey to stumble. His attorney whispered furiously in his ear, but Kody ignored him. His eyes were fixed on Robyn, as if daring her to make the first move. And then, the doors burst open. A woman entered, her face hidden beneath a heavy black veil. The sound of her heels striking the marble echoed like a funeral march. Gasps erupted through the gallery. Cameras snapped in rapid bursts. Even the judge froze. The rumors had always been there. The whispers. The specter of the so-called fifth wife. The wife no one had seen. The wife Kody had supposedly hidden away. And now it seemed she had finally arrived. "Identify yourself," the judge demanded, her gavel slamming. But the veiled woman said nothing. She only walked forward, each step heavier than the last. A countdown to destruction. And then, in a moment that shattered every expectation, the veil fell back. It wasn't the mysterious fifth wife. It was someone else. Someone the world thought was gone forever. Christine Brown. Her face was pale, her eyes wild with fury. She pointed a trembling finger at Kody. "You thought I was finished with you? You thought your secrets would stay buried? Not today." The gallery erupted. Reporters leapt to their feet. Jurors gasped. Robyn's folder slipped from her fingers as Christine's words cut through the room like a blade. Kody's smirk disappeared, his mask shattering in an instant. And just like that, everyone knew. The fifth wife was still out there, watching, waiting. And if the rumors were true, she carried with her the deadliest secret of all. The gavel slammed again, thunderous against the chaos. "Order in the court! All rise!" The bailiff barked, chairs scraped, feet shuffled. The room rose as one, not out of respect, but as if standing for a funeral. For in many ways, that's exactly what this trial was. A funeral for a family, a funeral for an empire, and perhaps a funeral for Kody Brown's freedom. Behind bulletproof glass, under blinding lights, Kody sat chained in his orange jumpsuit. No longer the golden-haired patriarch America once admired on television. No longer the confident man who flaunted his family for fame. This Kody was hollow-eyed, haunted, but still defiant. And across from him, Robyn Brown burned with fury. She wasn't here as a loyal wife. She wasn't here to defend him. No, she was here to destroy him. To drag every secret into the light. The judge adjusted her glasses, voice sharp as steel. "Mrs. Brown, you may make your opening statement." Robyn rose to her feet. Her knees trembled, but her voice was unshakable. "Your Honor," she said, locking eyes with Kody, "the man you see before you is not only my husband. He is not only a father, he is a liar, a manipulator, a criminal who built his empire of wives and children on pillars of deceit." Gasps exploded across the gallery. Reporters scratched furiously. Cameras clicked. Kody's lawyer snapped to his feet. "Objection, Your Honor." "Sustained," the judge warned. "Stick to the facts, Mrs. Brown." Robyn's lips tightened. "Then let me give you the facts. This man covered up a secret marriage. He forged documents. He hid money. He betrayed his family. He betrayed me." The words cut like fire. The courtroom roared. And in the shadows of the gallery, unseen by most but felt by all, the veiled woman sat still. Watching, waiting. The fifth wife was real. And if the letter Robyn carried in her folder was true, then by the end of this trial, someone would not leave this courthouse alive. The air in that courtroom was already heavy, but in the blink of an eye, it shifted into something darker. Something almost unearthly. Robyn pushed against her attorney's arm, her face pale, her voice trembling. "She's gone," she whispered. Her lawyer, caught in the tide of testimony, leaned in. "Who?" he breathed back. Robyn's eyes darted to the empty space in the gallery. The veiled woman. She was sitting there. Now she doesn't. Her attorney frowned, thinking perhaps she had been ushered out during the commotion. But Robyn shook her head slowly, every word weighted with dread. No, she went of her own accord. And this isn't coincidence. She's not gone. Christine's words, spoken earlier, came flooding back, piercing her like cold iron. She's not gone. Had Christine been trying to warn her all along? That the fifth wife had been here inside this courthouse, slipping between shadows like smoke? But if that was true, where was she now? The testimony carried on. Numbers, dates, documents filling the air like dust motes in sunlight. But Robyn scarcely heard a word. Her eyes were fixed on the doors, on every shifting shadow, on every stranger in the public gallery. Because the threat in that letter was no longer some vague whisper. It was alive. It was here. And it was closing in. She could still recall the words. By the end of this trial, someone will not leave this courthouse alive. Her flesh crawled. Her blood felt cold. What if it wasn't Kody this time? What if the target was her? Kody, ever the opportunist, noticed her trembling. He leaned toward his microphone, his lips curling into that venomous sneer. "You look nervous, Robyn. Scared of something?" His tone was dripping with poison, just loud enough for the jury to hear. Robyn bristled, locking eyes with him. He was baiting her, prodding her to break, to unravel for everyone to see. But what he didn't realize, what none of them realized, was that the fear in his eyes was even greater. He wasn't ridiculing her. He was deflecting his own terror. Robyn inhaled, steadying herself. Then, her voice soft but strong enough to cut through the silence, she answered, "Yes, I am afraid. Afraid that the truth about you will finally come to light." The gallery erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning, the air buzzing with gasps and murmurs. The judge slammed her gavel, her voice sharp. "Mrs. Brown, you will compose yourself, or you will be held in contempt." But Robyn didn't blink. Something had shifted inside her. A line crossed, a flame ignited. The papers, the evidence, the testimony, none of it mattered anymore. This was no longer about proof. This was about survival. Moments later, she slipped away into the courthouse bathroom, her attorney waiting just outside. She splashed cold water on her face, staring into the mirror. The woman looking back at her felt alien. Her eyes were hard, unblinking. She looked years older, as though the trial had drained her soul in a matter of hours. And then, the sound. A stall door creaked open. Slowly. In the reflection behind her, a woman emerged. Dressed in black. Her face veiled. Silent as death itself. Robyn froze. Her blood ran ice. The woman said nothing. She simply laid a folded piece of paper on the counter, and without a word, walked out of the bathroom. Robyn's hands shook violently as she reached for it, unfolding it with trembling fingers. 5 words. "It isn't Kody you fear." Her knees almost gave way. She gripped the counter for balance, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would break through her chest. She turned, ready to chase, ready to demand answers. But when she stepped into the hall, the veiled woman was gone. Vanished, as though she had never existed at all. When Robyn returned to the courtroom, pale and trembling, Kody sneered, convinced she was unraveling. But deep inside, Robyn felt something shift. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't coincidence. The fifth wife was here, watching, hunting, and the chilling truth cut through her bones. This trial was no longer about proving Kody's guilt. It was about living long enough to hear the verdict. The gavel struck again, echoing like thunder through the chamber. The judge's voice trembled slightly, betraying her own unease. Even the jurors shifted nervously, their eyes flicking between Kody and Robyn, as though they too sensed the ground cracking beneath them. Robyn sat stiff, her knuckles white around the note clenched in her palm. The words pulsed inside her head like a siren. "It isn't Kody you fear. If not him, then who?" Her eyes swept the gallery. Reporters leaned forward like vultures, pens scratching feverishly. Spectators whispered behind hands. But what chilled her most was the absence. The veiled woman was gone again. Gone. And yet, her presence was everywhere. At cliffhanger for the next part, the fifth wife wasn't a ghost anymore. She was real. She was inside the courthouse. And her message was clear. This wasn't Kody's game anymore. This was hers. Kody's game anymore. This was hers. She existed. Robyn knew it now. The veiled woman wasn't some ghost story whispered in shadows. She was real. She was here, but then something happened that made Robyn's blood turn to ice. Across her table, with no warning, a crumpled piece of paper slid into view. Robyn jerked around, her eyes scanning the room in panic. No one was near enough to drop it. No one had moved. Her lawyer sat stiff beside her, his eyes locked on the paper with horror. Robyn's trembling fingers reached for it. She unfolded the scrap slowly, dreading what she would see. And there it was. 7 words, jagged and cruel, in the same twisted handwriting as before. Stop digging, or Christine will die. Her breath hitched. The edges of her vision went hazy. For a moment, the courtroom vanished around her. She almost dropped the note. Christine, the only one who had ever tried to warn her. The only one who had whispered, she's not gone. Now Christine's very existence was being used as leverage. Robyn's eyes darted upward toward the balcony. For a fleeting second, she caught movement, a flicker of black fabric melting into the darkness. The 5th wife, always watching, always one step ahead. Her attorney leaned in urgently, whispering, "What is it? What did you just read?" Robyn crushed the note into her palm, forcing her expression flat. "Nothing," she said hoarsely. "It's nothing." Because if she revealed it, if she let him alert the judge, if security was called, Christine could be the one to pay the price. Robyn steadied her breathing, smoothed out her face, but inside, her thoughts spun like a hurricane. She wasn't fighting to expose Kody anymore. She was fighting a phantom, someone who could slip in and out of her life at will, someone who could reach into hospitals, strike at Christine, and vanish without a trace. The earlier warning echoed through her skull. It isn't Kody you fear. Hours dragged. The testimony blurred into meaningless noise. Robyn's ears barely registered the lawyers or the witnesses. Her mind reeled with one thought. Who is the 5th wife? And how much power does she truly hold? When the recess bell clanged, Robyn bolted for the hallways, desperate for air. Her heels clicked against the marble, echoing like gunshots in the cavernous corridors. Every corner seemed alive with menace. And then she heard it. Her name. Robyn? The whisper was faint, curling around her like smoke. She froze, heart slamming in her chest. Slowly, her head turned. At the far end of the corridor stood the veiled woman. Her black veil fluttered slightly, disturbed by a breeze that no one else could feel. Robyn's voice cracked. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head, silent. Then, with chilling precision, she lifted one hand. Slowly, deliberately, she pressed a finger to where her lips would be beneath the veil. Silence. Then she drifted into the stairwell and was gone. By the time Robyn stumbled back into the courtroom, her pulse was thundering so loudly she was certain others could hear it. Kody's eyes met hers. That infuriating smirk etched across his face. But now Robyn saw it for what it was. Not arrogance, not power, fear. Kody was afraid too. Afraid of her. And that realization sent a shudder down Robyn's spine. If even Kody Brown, manipulator, liar, predator, was terrified of this woman, then what chance did Robyn have? The judge's gavel struck, signaling adjournment for the day. Reporters swarmed the halls instantly, their voices overlapping, cameras exploding in blinding flashes. Robyn forced her way through them, numb, barely hearing the chaos. Outside, a black car rolled to the curb. The window cracked open just enough for a pale hand to emerge. Clutching a folded note, Robyn's body froze. No one else seemed to notice it. Not the reporters, not the cameras. To them, the car was invisible. To Robyn, it was the only thing in the world. Compelled by something darker than instinct, she stepped forward and took the note. The car peeled away, disappearing into traffic as if it had never existed. Robyn unfolded the paper beneath the courthouse lights. This time, the words were longer. "You want justice? I want silence. Choose wisely, Robyn, because if you continue, you will not leave this courthouse alive." Her knees buckled. The world tilted. Cameras flashed. Reporters screamed questions, but Robyn saw none of it. She saw only those words burning into her soul. The prophecy of the first note was not an idle threat. It was a vow. The 5th wife had moved, and Robyn now understood. Pressing forward meant gambling not only with Christine's life, but with her own. The next morning was colder. The chill bit into Robyn's lungs as she stepped out of the SUV. The courthouse loomed before her like a fortress carved of stone and judgment. Reporters swarmed the steps again, their questions sharper than yesterday. "Mrs. Brown, do you have an update on Christine? Was it poison? Was she silenced? Does her collapse prove the 5th wife is real?" Robyn froze mid-step. Christine collapsed at St. Mary's Hospital. Doctors baffled, no toxins, no trauma, no cause, just silence. The silence the 5th wife had promised. Her attorney tugged her arm. "Don't answer. Not here, not now." But Robyn's heart was pounding too loud for his voice to matter. Inside the courtroom, the air was denser than ever. Jurors shifted uncomfortably, unable to meet her gaze. Reporters scribbled like vultures circling prey. Even the judge, normally ironclad, seemed fatigued, her authority crumbling under the suffocating tension. Kody sat at the defense table, shackled, pale, his hair drooping. He looked smaller now, diminished. But when his eyes locked on Robyn, the old smirk flickered. Weak, trembling, but still there. A facade, because behind it he was as frightened as she was. The prosecutor rose. "Your Honor, the state would like to present new evidence obtained last night." A file was held aloft. Papers displayed on the projector, hotel reservations, 2 years' worth. All cash, all tied to Kody's accounts. And the guest? Listed every time as E. Brown. The prosecutor turned. "Mr. Brown, who is this woman? Is she your fifth wife?" Kody's jaw locked. His voice cracked with fury. "That's not mine. I didn't sign those." "Then explain the payments," the prosecutor pressed. Kody slammed his shackled fists on the table, his voice breaking. "I don't know who she is. Stop asking me about her." His eyes shot upward toward the gallery, toward the balcony where the veiled woman had once stood. His face drained of color. The jury saw it. The reporters saw it. Everyone saw it. And Robyn saw something else, desperation. Kody wasn't lying to protect himself. He was lying because the truth terrified him more than prison ever could. The judge finally called recess, but the gavel barely held back the storm. Robyn slumped in her chair, clutching her folder like a lifeline. She opened it, only to find another note slipped between her papers. This one screamed in bold letters, "Christine is alive for now. But if you speak her name again in this courtroom, she won't be." Robyn's vision blurred with tears. Her throat closed. She crushed the paper in her hand, but the words seared themselves into her soul. Christine? Still alive, for now. Robyn's gaze lifted to the gallery, up into the shadows, and there, barely visible, was the faintest glimmer of black fabric. The fifth wife, watching, always watching. Our cliffhanger for next part, the game had changed. This wasn't about Kody anymore. This was survival. And in that courthouse, Robyn knew one thing with icy certainty. The fifth wife controlled everything. Fifth wife controlled everything. The courtroom was silent. Too silent. You could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights above, the scratch of a pen against paper, even the sound of someone holding their breath. Every single person in that room knew they were not just witnessing a trial. No, they were witnessing the collapse of an empire. At the center of it all sat Robyn Brown. Her hands trembled slightly, though she tried to keep them steady on the table in front of her. She had been here before, in depositions, in interviews, in awkward family meetings. But this was different. This was a reckoning. Her lawyer shifted uneasily beside her, whispering something only she could hear. But Robyn wasn't listening. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead, locked on the heavy wooden doors of the courtroom. Because deep down she knew, sooner or later, those doors would open, and the truth she had buried for years would come storming through like a tidal wave. And then it happened. The faint creak of the hinges sent a ripple through the room. Heads turned, murmurs spread like wildfire, and Robyn's breath caught in her throat. Standing in the doorway was a figure she never expected to see again. A shadow from the past. Someone whose very existence threatened to unravel the carefully spun web of lies. The fifth wife. Gasps echoed across the benches as whispers filled the air. Is that her? She's real? After all these years? Reporters scribbled frantically, cameras clicked even though photography wasn't allowed, and somewhere in the back, a juror shifted uncomfortably in their seat. Robyn froze. Every muscle in her body screamed for her to look away, but she couldn't. Her eyes locked with the woman's, and in that instant, it was as though the room vanished. The walls of the courtroom blurred, the voices dimmed, and all that remained was the weight of a secret too heavy to bear. The woman stepped forward, slow, deliberate, her heels striking the floor like the sound of a ticking clock. With each step, Robyn's facade cracked just a little more. Memories she had tried to bury clawed their way back to the surface. Late-night phone calls, whispered promises, envelopes of money exchanged in silence, and most damning of all, the pact. She swallowed hard, her throat dry as the judge's gavel struck once, silencing the crowd. Order in the court! But the silence that followed wasn't calm, it was suffocating. Because in that silence, everyone could hear it. The unraveling of Robyn's story. And then she spoke. Her voice was low, steady, but it carried across the room like a haunting melody. "You thought I'd never come back. You thought the truth would stay buried. But here I am, Robyn, and tonight everyone will know." Robyn's heart pounded in her chest, each beat louder than the last. She tried to glance at her lawyer for reassurance, but even he looked pale, uncertain. There would be no saving her from this. Not this time. And as the woman reached into her bag, pulling out a stack of papers bound tightly together, the entire room leaned forward in anticipation. The proof. The evidence. The very thing Robyn had prayed would never see the light of day. But here it was. And with one chilling smile, the fifth wife laid it down on the table in front of the judge. Let's begin. The room erupted once more, voices clashing, reporters shouting, chairs scraping against the floor. But Robyn sat frozen, her entire world collapsing in slow motion around her. Because this wasn't just testimony, this wasn't just another witness. This was the beginning of the end, and deep inside she knew there was no going back. There was no going back. The air inside the courthouse was no longer air. It was static. Heavy, charged, pressing down on everyone inside like a storm waiting to break. The judge shuffled her papers with trembling fingers. The bailiffs stood tighter to their holsters, and the jurors shifted in their seats as if already preparing to run. This wasn't justice anymore. This was a tomb waiting to be filled. Robyn sat at the prosecutor's table, her folder clutched so tightly her knuckles ached. She could feel every note burning against her ribs like brands. Christine spoke. "She paid, you will too." Those words crawled up her spine like ice. And across the room, Kody stared at her. His eyes, once so smug, once so cruel, were wide, hollow, and for the first time, Robyn saw it clearly. He wasn't the predator. He was prey. The fifth wife wasn't just after Christine. She wasn't just after Robyn. She was after all of them. The judge cleared her throat, her voice quivering. "This trial continues. Though under exceptional circumstances, we go on in the name of justice. But let this be known, security of this court comes first. Paramount." Robyn almost laughed. There was no safety here. Not when the fifth wife could poison a cup, silence a nurse, erase evidence, or slip a note beneath her very chair. The prosecutor rose, determined to seize control. He brought forward new records, wire transfers, burner phone logs, photographs of Kody meeting in dark alleys with hooded figures. Every image was grainy, every face obscured, but the jury leaned forward, desperate for something solid. And then came the bombshell. "Your Honor," the prosecutor thundered, "we have phone records." The night Mr. Brown transferred money to the secret E. Brown account, he was not alone. Hours of calls were made to a burner phone, traced to Phoenix. And in these hotel records, the same woman, again and again. Gasps rippled through the room. The gallery erupted. Cameras flashed. But Robyn didn't hear them. Her blood froze. Because on the screen, reflected faintly in the hotel window behind Kody, was the shadow of a figure. A woman in black, watching, always watching. The judge raised her gavel, but stopped. Her hand hovered mid-air, trembling. Her lips pressed tight, as if she were listening to something no one else could hear. Robyn's chest constricted. She recognized that look. She'd worn it herself in the chapel. The judge was listening to her. To the fifth wife. "Order," the judge snapped finally, but her voice was too sharp, too cold. It wasn't justice speaking anymore. It was possession. At recess, Robyn ran into the hallway, her attorney chasing her. "You saw her face," Robyn hissed. "She's hearing her." The judge. She's inside her head. Her attorney stared at her like she was unraveling. Inside her head? "Robyn, this isn't a ghost story." Robyn gripped his arm, her eyes wild. "She's in the walls. In the jury. In Christine. Now the judge? This isn't a trial anymore, it's a setup." Her lawyer's face paled, but before he could reply, the bailiff called them back. Court resumed, but the walls themselves felt hostile. The prosecutor tried again, slamming down thick folders of evidence, bank statements, receipts, transfers. He opened the first file. Blank. He rifled to the next. Blank. Every page, every folder. Empty. The gallery erupted in chaos. No, these were complete yesterday," the prosecutor shouted. Kody's lawyer pounded the table. "This is a disgrace. My client is being framed with nothing but empty paper. The judge's gavel cracked, but even she looked pale, her eyes darting like she already knew what had happened. Robyn's stomach dropped. This wasn't an accident. The fifth wife hadn't just silenced witnesses. She was erasing the evidence itself. During recess, panic spread like wildfire. Prosecutors screamed about backups. Bailiffs stormed through offices. Reporters shoved microphones into every corner. But Robyn didn't move. She only heard the nurse's voice echoing in her skull. Don't trust the walls. Her attorney bent close, whispering, Robyn, this is sabotage. Someone's inside the system. Robyn's voice was hollow. She's not inside the system. She is the system. The hospital. The judge, the jury. Now the evidence. She's everywhere. Court reconvened, but nothing held. Even digital backups projected on the screen glitched, flickered, and dissolved into static. The jury gasped. The gallery shrieked. And through the distortion, Robyn could hear it, mocking. A silent laugh woven into the chaos. I choose what remains. I choose what you see. And then it got worse. Juror number 9 began to shake violently. Her face drained of blood. She lurched to her feet, knocking her chair to the ground. She's here, the juror screamed, pointing at the balcony. Don't you see her? She's watching us. The gallery exploded. Reporters shoved forward. Cameras flashed. The judge bellowed, Order, order! But the juror sobbed hysterically, clutching her head. She's whispering to me. She won't stop whispering. Bailiffs rushed to drag her away, but her cries ripped through the chamber. She's going to kill us, all of us. Robyn's skin turned to ice. It wasn't just her anymore. The fifth wife's whispers were spreading, infecting them all. And across the room, Kody sat trembling, his chains rattling softly. His lips moved soundlessly. For a heartbeat, Robyn thought he was praying. But then she realized he wasn't praying. He was mouthing a name, her name. The fifth wife. The judge recessed for the day, her gavel striking like gunfire. The courthouse dissolved into madness. Jurors fled weeping. Reporters clawed at doors. Bailiffs shouted in vain. But order had died long before. Robyn stumbled into the hallway, her attorney gripping her arm. Robyn, he whispered harshly, if you have anything you're holding back, now is the time. This case is falling apart. If she's behind it, the only way to stop her is to drag her into the light. Robyn's hand slipped into her pocket. The notes crumpled beneath her fingertips. Silence or death. Stop digging or Christine dies. Her breath caught in her chest. If she revealed the truth, Christine would never wake up. If she kept it buried, the fifth wife would choose another victim. That night, Robyn spread the notes across her hotel desk, the handwriting jagged scars on every page. Her tears blurred the words. And then, a knock, soft, gentle. Her body froze. Another knock, louder. And a voice. A voice like smoke curling under the door. Robyn? She stumbled back. Go away, she whispered. The voice chuckled, low, familiar. You can't escape me. Tomorrow you decide. Silenced or death. The knock ceased. Silence pressed against the door like a shadow. Robyn sank into the chair, shaking, knowing with bone-deep certainty, tomorrow wasn't about Kody anymore. It wasn't even about Christine. Tomorrow was about her. The fifth wife. Tomorrow was about her. The fifth wife. The words still echoed in Robyn's mind. The fifth wife. It wasn't just a name anymore. It was a shadow, a curse, a presence that seemed to suffocate the very air of the courtroom. Her attorney leaned in, voice sharp, whispering like a blade pressed against her skin. Then let's go tell the court. Expose the notes. Drag her out of the shadows. Robyn's chest tightened. Her heart thundered. She could almost see Christine's pale face whispering through the memory. She's not gone. She remembered the chapel, the cries of the jurors, the judge's trembling hands. And then the thought hit her like ice. She'll kill Christine if I do this. Her attorney's hand pressed harder on the desk. His eyes were cold. Then perhaps Christine is already gone. And perhaps you'll be next if you remain silent. The words sliced through Robyn, cruel and unforgiving. The courthouse steps were a gauntlet. Reporters swarmed, their questions firing like bullets. Cameras flashed like bursts of gunfire. Protesters shouted from both sides, some holding signs calling Kody a liar, others calling Robyn a traitor. Robyn kept her gaze forward, her attorney shielding her, but her chest was tight, her lungs refusing to open. Inside, the atmosphere was worse, heavy, oppressive. The jurors sat pale and gaunt, whispering nervously to one another. The judge fumbled her papers with shaking hands, her gavel tapping like the heartbeat of fear itself. And in the balcony shadows, Robyn saw it. The veil, watching, always watching. The prosecution rose, their voices firm, introducing new evidence, grainy hotel security footage. The jury leaned forward as the blurred images flickered. Kody, sneaking into rooms late at night, always with a shadowy figure by his side. Always in hiding. Always concealed. The prosecutor's voice grew sharper, hammering Kody with question after question. Who is she, Mr. Brown? Why hide her? Why funnel money into her accounts? Kody's fists slammed against the table, the chains on his wrists clattering like thunder. His voice cracked into the silence. You don't understand. You don't know what she is. Gasps tore through the gallery. Reporters scrambled to capture every word. The prosecutor leaned in, relentless. Then tell us, Mr. Brown, what is she? Kody's voice wavered, caught between rage and despair. She's not my wife. She's my captor. The courtroom erupted in chaos. The judge's gavel pounded, but her trembling voice could not calm the storm. The prosecutor's eyes widened in disbelief. Your captor? You're saying this woman coerced you into this relationship? Kody's head snapped toward Robyn, his eyes wild, feverish. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted her? She doesn't let go once she has you. She never lets go. Robyn's blood turned to ice. The jury gasped. The gallery buzzed like a hive ready to explode. The judge demanded order, but Kody was beyond control. His hand shot upward, pointing toward the balcony, his voice breaking. She's here! Right now. Don't you see her? Don't you? Reporters shouted, jurors recoiled, people screamed. And Robyn felt it too, that crushing, suffocating stillness. The fifth wife was there. She was always there. The judge had no choice. Recess, she shouted. The jurors were hurried out, the courtroom dissolving into pandemonium. Robyn fled into the hall, her attorney close behind. Her heart hammered like a drum, her thoughts spiraling out of control. Did you hear him? She gasped. He called her his captor. Her attorney's face was grim. And the jury heard it too. That changes everything. But Robyn shook her head violently. No, it means she's more powerful than we ever imagined. She doesn't just manipulate, she controls.